Jabiru, the gateway to Kakadu and Arnhem Land, hosts an annual event named after the afternoon breeze that gently flows through in the Coorong season, late August to early September. The Mahbilil Festival celebrates culture, both traditional and contemporary. This year's event attracted many visitors to watch the sporting events and sample the art, workshops, food, craft displays and music, including Northern Territory Chief Minister Michael Gunner, who toured the festival, chatted with locals and visitors, and delivered a significant announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming and thank you for accommodating me this afternoon at the Mahbilil Festival to join the celebration of Kakadu and its people. It is 1 year since Territorians put their faith in a Territory Labor government. But I'm not here to spin you a list of achievements or milestones. I'm here to assure you that Jabiru has a future, a very bright one. I'm here to talk about reconciliation, engagement and respect, and how the Northern Territory, under the Territory Labor government, will lead the conversation and the action to unite our nation. We will lead because half of our landmass, 80% of our coastline and nearly a third of our population is Aboriginal. Our land and coastline are Aboriginal under Australian law. The Northern Territory, more than any other Australian jurisdiction, is alive with language and culture. The Northern Territory is still and always will be Aboriginal. We offer the first people of the Northern Territory a new way, bigger than words, written into policy and Northern Territory legislation. We believe in treaties. They will be the foundations of a lasting reconciliation, stronger communities, and ultimately a stronger Northern Territory. It is time for more than lip service, and conversations have begun about how treaties will work. They must say to future generations of the First People that their identity, their culture, languages and law are valued. And that value is written in our attitudes and in our laws. With Aboriginal communities, we will address unemployment and disadvantage to the culturally responsible development of land and sea. This means resolving outstanding land claims so more Aboriginal people can go to work building their futures. It means recognising traditional owners at the beginning, middle and end of economic development, their decisions on their land. With Aboriginal communities, we will address disadvantage through unprecedented investment in remote housing and in the first 1,000 days of a child's life. And with Aboriginal communities, we will address the Territory's shameful Indigenous incarceration rates through a new community-led Aboriginal Justice Agreement. An Aboriginal Justice Unit has been formed in July and consultation has begun. Underpinning it all is local decision-making. If not the most significant Aboriginal reform of this generation, at least the most decent. The degradation and humiliation of the intervention convinced me 10 years ago. Meaningful progress, engagement, reconciliation and protection of culture lay not in taking power, but returning power. I and my team believe this today more strongly than ever. We will partner with Aboriginal communities to determine the shape and control of local healthcare, schools, justice systems, local governments, housing, and how to grow happy and healthy kids. Instead of government telling communities how it will be, communities will tell government. This could be how to best nurture the kids who have slipped through the cracks, because we know government can fall short. Or it could be who manages the health clinics, or whether schools adopt bilingual education. Community-led decision-making in schools is already happening up the road at Gumbalanya. In February, overseen by the Australian Electoral Commission, the community elected its inaugural school board. 91 parents voted on 8 members from 31 nominations, and 60 students voted on 2 positions from 4 nominations. They are in charge of language in their school, not me, a politician from Darwin. Returning decision-making is not only decent, it is smart. Because history shows us when a decision is made in Darwin and a wrong one can be made, it's hard to fix. And when a wrong decision is made in Canberra, it's even harder to fix. Local decisions are the best decisions. I understand there is not one homogenous Aboriginal Northern Territory, and so each community will only take on what they are comfortable taking on and when they are comfortable doing so. We will move at your manner and pace. This is big reform, and it will not happen overnight. We are working to a 10-year territory-wide timeframe, and there will probably be mistakes along the way. But guiding and scrutinising every step on the journey is Australia's first Aboriginal Subcommittee of Cabinet, which is made up of all 5 Labor Aboriginal members and our Bush MLAs, who have an 80% Aboriginal constituency and 9 external Aboriginal advisors. We talk of the Northern Territory as a remarkable place and rightly point to our landscapes, our national parks, rivers, gorges and plains, our unique towns and communities built in the harshest of environs and from war and cyclone, our fishing and weather and sunsets. But we are so much more. The songs, the dances, the mountains and rivers and rocks, the stories told unbroken and unamended 1,000 generations. How remarkable it is to step into our communities and hear the most ancient words ever spoken on earth. To see art older than the pyramids, or to hear the story of the landscape to the rumble of a yidaki and the stamp of feet in the sand. This is what is truly special about the Northern Territory. What we can value and what we can celebrate, and we can do it better. Our government is building the national iconic Indigenous Art Gallery in Alice Springs, not only to draw tourists from around the world, but to say to Aboriginal kids in Alice Springs and across Australia that what and where you come from is special. You are special. We are building an arts trail from the centre all the way to the top end, and we are rejuvenating the Alice Springs and Darwin CBDs to reflect our Aboriginal history and project our immense shared future to the world. I can announce today my government will begin consulting about complementary street and place names to elevate Aboriginal identity, language and history into the everyday. Aboriginal language existed everywhere on this continent long before English. How many Australians know that the land under Alice Springs is Mbarantja to the Aranda, the first people of that place, or that Darwin is Garamilla to the Larrakia, or that there are special places all around us with treasured stories and histories? We should know this. This is about historical accuracy as much as it is about respect. Uluru was Uluru many generations before it was Ayers Rock. It is not Hooker's Creek at the edge of the Tanami, but Larjamanu. And Vincent Lingiari did not lead his people off to a place called Wattie Creek. He led them to Dagaragu. And this weekend we are celebrating 51 years of that walk-off. I have written to the Place Names Committee and met with Chair Dr. Tom Lewis to begin this important work. Let us acknowledge the entire history of this nation. Let us teach our national curriculum, the displacement, the trauma, disease, and the massacres. I support the idea of an ongoing annual day of observance for the horrors meted out at the frontier. What shape or form or date this may take place each year, if at all, is up to Aboriginal Australians. But what I can do, and what I will do next year with the support of the traditional owners, is to visit the site of the Coniston Massacre for its 90th anniversary, to pay respect, to commemorate. Like I've done at Gallipoli as a private citizen, like I do each year at Anzac Day, and like I will later this year at Pearl Harbor for Remembrance Day, I will pay my respects. I will also be speaking with Aboriginal groups and land councils, landowners, the Parks and Wildlife Commission and the NT Heritage Council to ask how can we better acknowledge the historical injustices in our own backyard. This could mean markers or monuments so people know what happened, where it happened and when it happened. It could mean pulling together the excellent research already out there into one easy to access website and map. Aboriginal men, women and children died for their country, for their families and for their way of life, and they will be remembered. We are blessed to call Australia home. January 26, 1788 marked the beginning of our modern nation. It marked the beginning, good and bad, of the coexistence of the first Australians and the new Australians. This is our history and it is important. January 26 is historically significant. The arrival of Arthur Phillip at Sydney Cove also marked the landfall of disease and dispossession, and for many Australians it is a date of mourning. The Northern Territory is alive to this more than anywhere in Australia. It is clear in my own caucus, which has 5 Aboriginal Australians. It is clear when I travel the Territory. I want to stand with my colleagues and my friends and acknowledge everything our forebears have contributed and struggled against to get us where we are, whether it's 1,000 generations or 4 generations. Australia Day should be about unity, not division. And for the health and harmony of our nation, Australia Day must evolve. January 26 must meaningfully acknowledge the entire story of our nation. This means more than acknowledgement of country, it's more than a smoking ceremony. It means a genuine celebration of the Aboriginal contribution to our national identity, a celebration of all this continent's waves of immigration, an acknowledgement of the frontier trauma passed from generation to generation and still killing people today in the guise of grog, suicide and sickness. We have to hit a balance between commemoration and respectful celebration, and this is a discussion to have, and I'm open to all conversations. I have written to the NT Australia Day Council, of which I am the president, to explore new ways forward. The Territory should and will lead how we best celebrate Australia Day together so that Australia Day is for all. Ladies and gentlemen, some may think it odd to deliver a 1-year anniversary address in Jabiru, far from the function rooms of Darwin or Alice Springs. But there can be no more appropriate place than here in the heart of Kakadu National Park at this time. The history of the Northern Territory lives in this place. Just up the track at Mudgett Bear Bear is evidence people walked this very land at least 65,000 years ago. The dispossession lives here too. The arrogance of top-down policy lives here. The Aboriginal land rights movement and the fight back lives here. And so too does a close community worth protecting where kids of all colours play together and are looked after by all. I am here at our 1-year anniversary because the future of the Northern Territory can live here too. Jabiru stands as a symbol of old way, of white man's will imposed upon the first people. It can live on tomorrow as a symbol of the new way, of cooperation, community control and coming together. Jabiru is in many ways the Northern Territory scaled down. It has enormous potential as an underappreciated jewel in a larger crown, yet beholden to boom and bust economies. It is a magnificent place to raise kids, yet it faces constant population and job pressures. It is home to the world's most ancient languages and traditions, yet its people still must clamber and scrape for respect and the power to decide their lives for themselves. In Jabiru, we can acknowledge and celebrate what is truly special about the Northern Territory. In Jabiru, as in the Northern Territory, we can in time hand back local control to its first people. And in Jabiru, as in the Territory, we can build something greater for generations to come. In December 2015, the CLP government wrote to the Commonwealth and to the Northern Land Council to say they are walking away from Jabiru. Their message was level this community, level its services and its shops. This would be a tragedy. The Northern Territory Labor government believes in this place and its people. Just weeks after the election, we told the Commonwealth and the Northern Territory we were back at the table. I tell you now, the lake will not be filled in. The school, clinic, police station and shops will not be closed. We are working with the Commonwealth, ERA, Gunjatmi Aboriginal Corporation to transition Jabiru from a mining town to a services and tourism hub, where people from all over West Arnhem can come, buy their food, get checkups and medicine and send their kids to school. When visitors come from all over the world to learn about this special place through the eyes of its ancient people, I thank the Mirarr and the Gunjatmi Aboriginal Corporation for your work building momentum to this shared goal. I genuinely believe that by repurposing Jabiru, investing in Jabiru, its future, services will increase or at a minimum remain the same. We support moving the Kakadu Visitor Centre into town. We support the Mirarr endeavours for a Section 19A lease over the Jabiru Township. We support using existing housing stock where appropriate to attract new enterprise, similar to the arrangement in Nhulunbuy following the mothballing of Rio Tinto's alumina refinery. But in Jabiru, I want to explore even further what we can do, what we can include in that mix, the airstrip and other valuable assets to make sure the economy here still flourishes. We are all in this together. ERA, governments, traditional owners, business owners and community members. I can't give you all the answers today, but I can give you the most important answer. Jabiru will live and thrive beyond 2021. We genuinely believe that Jabiru can be a bigger, more exciting place than it is now, with all the services that you need. Its services will remain. The lake will remain. And in time, this will be and should be an Aboriginal-led town. Kakadu will always be, as it should always be, an Aboriginal-led park. And Aboriginal communities across the Northern Territory, as they should be, will be Aboriginal-led communities. Thank you very much.
We just wonder what you got to comment about the Chief, what he said about returning Aboriginal communities back to Aboriginal people.
I think that's a good what he said. I'm really proud of it. And I'm really proud of him and his speech.
It's a real relief because I'd hate to see Jabiru go under.
It should be fully taken over and maintained as it is, because it would have been here with or without the mine, and if it had been here before the mine or with no mine here, it would have been serving a cattle industry, a huge cattle industry, and it would have been a Northern Territory town of much inferior quality to this magnificent town that's here.
It was very inspiring. Yeah, I'm glad that they're going to try and keep it happening.
If it happens, it'll be wonderful.
Well, great for the community. We're only just brand new here. We all work at the Kakadu Mikua Crocodile, but it'd be good for the locals as well. It is just a big mining town for the uranium, but once that goes, I couldn't see too much happening for the town, so it'd be great to bring it back for all the locals and have their land.
Oh, I think it's great. Yeah, I really support that. Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
Oh, I think it's sensational, the fact that, especially for the people of Jabiru here, as we are right standing, because there was a real lot of uncertainty about what was actually going to happen here, and the Chiefs made a commitment there to make sure that Jabiru is not going to be forgotten and that the town will stay alive and prosper.
Yeah, mate, I think it's great that they're still committed to the Aboriginal communities. I think it's, go for it, all good.
It's all right for us in the Aboriginal here. We're having lots of fun, and just me and my families and the people from the long way country, so just coming here and gathering together,
Well, I'm the local member for Jabiru in this area and then Kakadu National Park, so of course very supportive of that community-led model. I'm also one of the co-chairs of the Aboriginal Affairs Subcommittee of Cabinet, so playing a very crucial role in regards to how we future plan and we involve community from grassroots all across the territory, from the top end to the Central Desert, to be able to, as you mentioned in your speech, give the power back. I think Aboriginal people across the territory have slowly, the power in their control has slowly corroded, so I think it's really important that we as a government lead the way in making sure that that power is restored, and of course that we've got the community driving that as well. So some communities are ready to go with some of their models. The example of Gumbalanya School as being a community-led school already. Some communities aren't at that level, so it's about that capacity building. So very, in terms of being a bush member and a predominantly remote electorate, very supportive of those type of models, and of course what the Chief said with Jabiru and its future. That's an area where I found a lot of anxiety here in Jabiru since I was campaigning last year before the territory election, and since our commitment to the people of Jabiru and the Kakadu National Park residents, I think that anxiety levels sort of slowed down a bit, which is really important for me as a local member to have the Chief Minister here and actually announce that publicly. So it's been really wonderful to hear from the Chief and to hear what locals are saying about his speech.
My name is Matty. I'm from Meningrida, West Arnhem. I'm for what the government says, but they need to prove themselves and to put things in place for all Aboriginal people.
I think it was really great. I enjoyed it. We're on holiday from WA and really enjoyed his speech. Thought it was very powerful, very positive, and a lot of hope.
To me, it's a landmark speech today from the Chief. We heard it directly from the Chief that that government needs to do things differently because we keep doing the same thing. We're going to get the same results. So the Chief has put on the table of that he wants to do things differently. He spoke about he brought up the word treaty. He's brought up the idea. The fact is that by working together with traditional owners, that's the way forward. And we know that we can see that's going to be the way forward, and it's fantastic. So I want to congratulate the Chief Minister on standing up and doing what's needed.
The Chief Minister's speech, with the reassurance of a bright future for Jabiru, was a positive start to the Mahbilil Festival, with the celebrations continuing on into the night.